everybody, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today. We're your boys. We always got something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog. And today, folks, we're going to be talking about the latest rumors regarding Steven Kwan. And to help us break that down, we got our good buddy, Jim Riley from BALLCAP Sports. If you guys ever get tired of our trade deadline coverage or our baseball coverage, I thoroughly encourage you to go check his channel out, BALLCAP Sports. He's got some great stuff over there. Jim, one, how's it going? And two, Steven Kwan to the Blue Jays. Thoughts on that?
So, how it's going okay. I was at last night's game, and that was the worst game of the year.
That sucked.
It was very bad.
I'm sorry that you had to see that, man.
I was there in person, live, watching it all go down, and I could not have been more disappointed. I mean, it was fun. We had friends that we didn't have family. Well, I guess family. Me and my boy were there, but we had friends. That part was fun, but the product on the field, jeez, that was. I don't think Steven Kwan could have helped yesterday. That's for sure. No. And then at the end, assassinating George Springer just kind of was like the icing on the cake. It's like. Anyway,
I know that's brutal. Like you're up by 7 and you just take him out. Granted, I think he's going to be okay. I think it mostly was shoulder then helmet.
Thank goodness.
According. So
thank goodness. Watching it live because you didn't see it. You just you saw it, but then there was nothing else after that. You just at the stadium, you see George face down, and you see Schneider out there in a split second, and it's just like quiet. You can hear a pin drop kind of thing. Yeah. And when you have the TV broadcast, they can like slow it down and they can show you that it hit the shoulder and then the side of the helmet. But we're watching it. We're like, did it hit him in the face?
Right.
Like, is it a Kevin Pillar situation where he's going to lift his head up and it's just going to be a
blood?
We didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
In the stadium, we're like, because they didn't show a replay on the board. So thankfully he's okay. And now the Blue Jays can go win the next 3 games and everything will be fine. And
that's right.
Last night will just be a bad memory. But the Steven Kwan thing is very interesting. I'm curious about, I guess if you think about this team, left field is the area, right? Where when everybody's healthy and out there, that would be the revolving door. That's where you would have Loperfido, you would have Schneider, you would have Clase, you would have Lucas, you would have a lot of different options because center field would be Varsho, right field would be Santander or Springer or whoever you wanted to put in right. So I can see that. I just worry. I think it'll cost too much. I think that the asking price is going to be phenomenal, and I think these guys are going to. I think they're going to shy away from it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, I'm actually fully agreeing with you. I mean, it's not a big need, and we can go into it right now. You look at the Blue Jays roster, right? And you have guys like, Nathan Lucas popping off. Now, is Steven Kwan better than Nathan Lucas? We can all agree that, yes, Steven Kwan is better than Nathan Lucas. But Nathan Lucas has been good this year. The outfield has been very nice, right? A nice surprise there with Addison Barsher playing in right. You got Dalton Varsho coming back, like you mentioned. So there's not a real need of an upgrade there where he is going to cost a lot of assets because he's got some control and he's a great quality player. He's a former All-Star. But the Blue Jays, they do need to get some bullpen help, and I think that's where they're kind of leaning right now. This one came out from Buster Olney saying the Blue Jays are happy with their position player group, and most of their focus will be put towards bullpen help at the deadline. If you're going to spend up for me, Jim, you got to go and get that bullpen.
Well, I'm curious to hear from you, Jim, because I know that you're always talking trades right here. Steven Kwan, free agent in 2028. In his career, he has never not been a Gold Glover. So that, you got to imagine that is, one, extremely appealing to Ross Atkins. So he'd love that. But then also, two, that is going to really increase the trade value there, just the defense. The WAR this year being 3.3, so he is having a great season. Is this the type of individual that is going to cost, for the Toronto Blue Jays, for instance, an Arjun Namala and something, or a Trey Savage and something? Like, how much prospect capital would you anticipate needing to be sent the other way to make this actually happen?
I totally think Cleveland is going to want one of those two back in return, Namala or Savage. One of those guys has to go. There's no way they can hoodwink the Cleveland Guardians and make this about Tiedemann or King or anybody else, Kendry Rojas. That's not going to do it for Steven Kwan. I think it is going to require a top-notch prospect. And for that, because this is not an area of dire need, I really don't necessarily want them to do that. Look, my dream scenario is that the Toronto Blue Jays look at the equation, they look at the bounce back season from Bo Bichette, and they extend Bo. If they extend Bo Bichette,
let's go.
They kind of need left field. They kind of need left field open for guys, because when everybody's healthy and everybody's out there, Addison Barger is your third baseman, right?
Yeah.
So you'd have Barger at third. You'd have, it's either Springer or Santander in right. You'd have Varsho in center. I kind of need all those other guys. I kind of need left field available for them. I mean, Ernie Clement, where's Ernie play? Ernie's
splitting time with Jimenez. That's another problem.
I'll tell you right now, Jim, the big issue that I always run into is when Andres Jimenez is healthy. And because they've committed to Andres Jimenez, they made a big trade to go get him. He's got years left on his contract, but when he's healthy, then you run into this kind of logjam where it's like, okay, well now where is Ernie Clement going? And then if you move Ernie Clement, like if you ever have a situation where Ernie Clement and Andres Jimenez are in the lineup together, well, where does that put Addison Barger?
Right,
and it's
field,
just like,
and then it pushes everyone down. Yeah.
So I totally hear what you're saying there. Like you need some spot open to have a bit of a revolving door. Like having one revolving door on your team, I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily.
Yeah, I think that because of the options, I mean, if we put the Ross Atkins, Mark Shapiro hat on, and they look at that roster, the position players just are not enough of a need to go out and pay that premium from a prospect perspective. If they're going to pay the premium, they're going to target an area of need, and that's the bullpen. That's where you can make the biggest impact. Even the rotation. There's the idea of adding some rotation depth, because if somebody gets hurt, you're kind of in a tough spot. And if two guys get hurt, you're toast. So I can see them grabbing some rotation depth, but the bullpen is clearly the area of need. I did my absolute final trade deadline predictions yesterday.
Let's hear it, Jim.
For the Toronto Blue Jays, I went 2 bullpen pieces. I went David Bednar and I went Danny Coulombe. I went for the lefty that doesn't give up runs and Danny Coulombe, and I went for David Bednar, who has fixed his walk rate. He's back under control and he's elite again. And you get another year of David Bednar as well, which I love that. Coulombe would be walking at the end of the year. He's a rental, but David Bednar has another year of control. Those 2 pieces added into this bullpen would create a bullpen scenario where that group could go head-to-head, toe-to-toe with anybody's bullpen in Major League Baseball. And that's what I want them to have, because when this team gets into October, they have the framework of the rotation already there, don't they? You think maybe Eric Lauer could be the odd man out, because you would not sit Bassett, Barrios, Gausman, or Scherzer for Eric Lauer. Eric Lauer's been a great story. Eric Lauer's the first guy you go to if one of those guys gets in trouble to give you more innings. So the rotation, again, the only argument I have there is for depth. The bullpen, I sort of settled on this a couple of weeks ago too, that the bullpen needs to be the strong area of focus. That's where you invest your prospect premium.
No, I completely agree. At first, I was looking at like, we desperately need a game 1 ace starter to go toe to toe with the Tarek Skubals of the world, the Max Frieds of the world, and 2 things. Yeah, exactly. 2 things changed my mind. One of them was Kevin Gausman, who literally did it, and this past week that we showed that we could do it. But number 2 is there isn't really that guy that is available. I mean, you were looking at maybe Seth Lugo. He's locked up long term. Bubic is on the IL. Kansas City ain't selling this season. And then you've got, Joe Ryan over there, who is going to command Arjun Amala, Treya Savage, then some ready now available players, which I don't think they're going to give up for. So for me, okay, time to shift the mindset. Maybe go get one more starter, because you do need the depth, because like you're saying, one injury kind of shatters this whole rotation. You do need to keep that bullpen rested, especially down the stretch too. 6-man rotation isn't a bad option. Yeah. And then you go and get those big bullpen guys, because we saw what the Dodgers did last year, Jim. They just rode that bullpen to a World Series win. So I think that's huge. My little toss in there for a guy I really like is a Ryan Helsley. If you're not getting David Bednar, Ryan Helsley's a guy they've been kind of interested in. Same thing, high velo kind of guy, figures it out, guy you can trust in late innings in case Jeff Hoffman doesn't really work out.
I'm going to push back like a little bit on you guys. Like, I still do look at this rotation, and I still think that I want somebody. I want an impact starter, and I keep coming back to Merrill Kelly as being like the best available guy right there. And I just think it is because, yes, Kevin Gausman's been elite recently, but he's also had some ups and downs this season. And similarly speaking to Jose, and hell, Chris Bassett got absolutely rocked, just yesterday, right? So it's I feel like having somebody in that rotation is still important for me. How much, in your opinion, would somebody like a Merrill Kelly cost? Because it feels like at this current juncture, he's kind of the best available rental arm.
We have seen some of these position players, these top position players, go for 2 pitching prospects. And you've sort of seen pitching prospects in the range of that 5 to 10. So like a 45 out of 80 graded prospect, and then another prospect in that 10 to 20 range, which is more like a 40 out of 80 graded prospect. So if you're trying to find the guy that would be in that package for Merrill Kelly, I got to think, because it's a pitcher now, it may be 2 45 out of 80s that have to go. It is at least a 45 out of it. Maybe a 50 and a 40 out of 80 have to go. That's, I think, what you have to start to think about. And Ricky Tiedemann is a 50 out of 80. Johnny King, who has just been updated to our number 4 prospect in the organization.
I got it right here. Yeah, number 4.
He's a 50 out of 80. We've got a bunch of 50s. I like the idea. I don't know what it is. Maybe I feel like Kendry Rojas has a target on his back at this trade deadline. If you're going to try to avoid pitchers, I think you try to avoid the guys in the top 5, and Kendry Rojas is next up, and he's having a good year. So I feel like he's in a package. Maybe you can pull off a Rojas and and again, we get to Fernando Perez. That's another. Is he a 45? He's a 45.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's my question. Would you do, and I think I know the answer, Kendry Rojas, who's a 45 out of 80, Fernando Perez, also 45 out of 80. That's number 6 and number 14 in the organization. That is 12 years of pitching control for those two for a couple of months of Merrill Kelly, because I think that's probably in the neighborhood of what it's going to cost.
Here's my answer, Jim. Abso-freaking-lutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. I mean, how many times have we seen pitchers come up through our system that have emerged into basically nothing, right? Either trade bait, they go to another organization, they come up, they get blown up, they go down, we never hear from them again. It happens way too many times. There will always be another Rojas or another 45 out of 80 guy coming through your system at some point. There always will be. There will never be an opportunity for the Blue Jays, maybe for another few more years, maybe another decade, maybe another 3 decades, where they are first in the American League. They are in a great spot. I think you got to cash in. You're going to get and replace those guys, like I'm saying, but how often does opportunity happen? Let's go get it right now. And again, like, it's not like it's going to blow up our farm system. We've got a lot, like you just brought up, a lot of guys that are in that range. I think we'll be okay. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I completely agree there. I think that's a price I'd be super willing to pay. And I think circling it back to kind of the whole topic here about, Steven Kwan, the Jays have been calling about him, interested about him. For me, I like Steven Kwan a lot. But I'm not willing to, with the needs that we have on this team, give up Arjun Namala and Johnny King and somebody to get him onto this squad, when I think a much bigger need is adding a really good starting pitcher in here. And like you just said, Merrill Kelly, potentially the best available rental arm right there, would cost us 2 of our top prospects, yes, but 2 that are significantly less than the ones that you'd have to pay for a Steven Kwan. So I think if I'm the Toronto Blue Jays right now, I like that they were on the phone with Cleveland. Obviously, Ross and Mark, they got their hooks in over there at Cleveland. They know some guys, so maybe they can get a bit of a sweeter deal than some other individuals. But I personally think that if you were going to be blowing some of these big bullets or firing off some of these big bullets, it's got to be for the pitching. It's got to be for the bullpen. And as much as Steven Kwan would be great in a Blue Jays uniform, is he worth Arjun and Johnny King and various others? I don't know.
I have a question. What do you guys think about a certain pitcher who the Jays have gone head-to-head against 2 times over the last month, over the last 5 weeks. They faced this pitcher twice, once in Toronto and once in his park. And both times he cooled the bats. And this is while this Jays team has been hot. His name is Adrian Hauser.
Yeah. That's a guy that would be cheap.
Drives me nuts. And when I think about adding the depth, he has 11 starts. He is 6-2 with a 2.10 ERA. He doesn't strike a ton of guys out, but he limits the soft contact because he's got movement on his pitches that limits the barrel rate.
Yeah.
And now he went out against the Pirates about 10 days ago, and they, again, the power wasn't there. He wasn't giving up home runs, but he just gave up too many hits. And then against the White Sox, he walked more guys than he traditionally does. If I'm thinking about grabbing a starting pitcher, the problem with Merrill Kelly is, like you said, he's at the top. He's at the top, so that may mean you have to up the ante. You may have to dip into that top 5 of your farm system. You may have to go to a 50 out of 80 graded prospect to get that. I wonder if maybe we can solve that need of pitching depth, slot down a few tiers, because also the thing I think about is it's going to probably take 2 prospects to get David Bednar as well.
Right, sure. Yeah.
And Danny Coulomb is probably also going to take 2 prospects. They will be lower tiered prospects. Yep. But when we start thinking about all of the budget that gets invested here, I feel like I'd rather try to move down a little bit. And I kind of like the idea. I feel like of that lower tier, Adrian Hauser is sort of towards the top of that group. And he kind of interests me only because he shut us down twice. And I guarantee you Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro were watching. After the first time, they were like, damn. And then the second time, they were like, all right, we got to watch this. We got to see what he's doing. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had a very keen eye on him when they were doing when they were facing Hauser.
Yeah. I got a question, because you want to talk about people who are watching. Everybody brought this up after it happened, and everybody thought that it was like, oh, he must be trying to show the Toronto Blue Jays that he is worth getting traded for, and maybe should Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro be watching this start, maybe they would be interested. A name that's been brought up to us several times is Luis Severino over there on the Athletics, and you know, in defense of the people that are bringing him up, Toronto Blue Jays have come out and said, hey, we got the financial muscle. We can flex the financial muscle. So somebody that's on, you know, maybe a contract that you wouldn't want him to be on, Toronto Blue Jays might be more willing to take that on than another team, meaning that they could probably get Luis Severino for extremely cheap, because they'd be taking on a lot of that money. Thoughts on that? Whoa, time for a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. Hit your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code down below to join the action. Only available in Ontario. Must be 19 years of older to participate. Please play responsibly. Now, everyone, back to the content.
Yeah, if you get Severino for cheap, I would be into it, because this team is going to have 3 rotation spots that they're going to have to address in the offseason with Hauser, Bassett, and Scherzer all heading out the door. So you can add to this year's team, this year's depth, and you also check a box for next year. So I would be okay with that. It really just depends on that return. And ideally, the contract that he's under would reduce some of the prospect hit that you would have to take to get somebody like Severino. I would be down with that, but I would be very interested in what they give up.
Yeah, honestly, though, regardless, I want to circle back to the whole like Adrian Hauser thing. I completely am with you, Jim. I feel like the needs are shifting where we do have enough. I think the ERA numbers are deceiving with the starting pitchers. I think we have enough of a depth of a rotation where there will be some guys who can give you innings in the postseason. I think the games are going to be won and lost with that bullpen. And I think going and spending up the capital where you really need to spend up is going to be in the bullpen area, where if you go get like a David Bednar, like you said, 1 more year of control for David Bednar, that feels like a sweet deal. I'd want to spend there versus right now in a starting pitcher market where, yeah, you can get dudes that are relatively cheaper out there, and there's a lot of them. So that's where I'm kind of at right now, and we'll see in the next 72 hours?
About 72 hours until the trade deadline. But, folks, that is the latest on Steven Kwan. Blue Jays are calling about it. However, it might cost a lot. And right here, Jimmy, us as well, are thinking maybe the prospects are better spent on pitching. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to hit that like, smash that subscribe button. Go check out Jimmy BALLCAP Sports. I guarantee you that he will be live posting videos over the next 72 hours just as actively as we are. And if you want a greater view of the entirety of the MLB, not just Toronto Blue Jays, that is where your spot that you're going to find it.
Guys, hit that like, smash that subscribe button. $4 a month to become a YouTube member. Shout out, thank you to all of our YouTube members. You guys are absolutely awesome.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. And Jimmy, say it with us. Go Jays, go!